my name is Jolene Stevens. I am a vacation planner and owner of goMagic. I am here to talk to you today about Disney Cruise Line and everything you need to know about after you have booked your cruise. So you have figured out which sailing you want to go, you have put the initial deposit down, now what? So the first thing that you want to do is figure out when your excursions and onboard activities like Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, Spa, Palos, which is an adult-only dining experience, you need to figure out what date that is. So if you are a frequent Disney cruise vacationer, you may be part of the Disney Castaway Club. So if you are platinum level or if you are staying in a concierge level room, regardless of whether you are a first-time cruiser or a many-time cruiser, platinum and concierge level can book their excursions at 120 days prior to their sailing. Now, you have to be paid in full to book excursions, no matter what level you are. Then at 105 days, the Gold Castaway Club members can book their excursions. Then it goes to 90 days for the Silver Castaway Club, and then everyone else at 75 days out is when you can book your excursions. That being said, I always recommend paying in full at least a day prior to that date. That way you know that right when the clock strikes 12 that you can book your excursion and onboard activities. Some of these things are also like character meet and greets with Anna and Elsa. There's lots of character meet and greets that do not take any sort of appointments. So just know that there's more characters other than Anna and Elsa on the ships. But I wanted to let you know that's the first thing that you want to do. You want to make sure that you're hitting that, that you're doing your final payment before your excursion window opens. And also one more thing about final payment that's super important. If you miss your final payment with Disney Cruise Line, they cancel your reservation. There's no wiggle room there and you lose your deposit. So it's absolutely imperative that you make sure that you have that date in a big circle on your calendar. So let's talk about when you go and you can book excursions. So when your time opens up, there's two things that are going to kind of show up. One, you can book or you can start putting in all your information for your online check-in. Do that second because excursions and some activities on the ship like character meet and greets or Palos or that sort of thing, depending on how long the cruise is, those do fill up. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to book those excursions and those activities. And we at goMagic, we can help you with what you need to know about that and what is going to be available and what we should try to get. And we can also help you book those. We can go on at 12 o'clock midnight on your day to help you get those. But the next thing that you want to do is after you have figured out all of your onboard activities and your excursions and that sort of thing, then you want to do that online check-in, because what that online check-in is going to do is it's at the very end, it's going to give you a screen that allows you to determine what time you want to show up to the port and what time you want to get on the cruise. Now, that being said, there is flexibility in what time Disney Cruise starts to actually start the embarkation process. This has to do with the Coast Guard has to come on and do a check of the ship and has to clear the ship before every sailing. So some days that goes super smoothly and very quick, and some days it's delayed. So for example, we were just out on the Disney Wonder last weekend, and we were delayed. It started more around 12 rather than 11 o'clock. So there was a lot of people in the port, a lot of people wanting to get on. So just know that even though you're given a time, it's not guaranteed time, but that is your estimated time that you can board the ship. So you want to choose that time. Now, if you have private transfers, which again, we can help you with, and I will also tell you when I say private transfer, so Disney Cruise Line does offer transfers from either the airport or the hotels in Orlando, Florida to Port Canaveral. Those sometimes can be more expensive than doing a private transfer, depending on how large your family is. So if you want to get out to the port a little bit earlier, private transfers is the way to go. Now, also in that is that when you're talking about other ports like Galveston, San Diego, that sort of stuff, there's no Disney transfer. So those are going to be private, either if you're coming in right from the airport or from the hotel. So that's also something that we can help you with, is figuring out and locating a transfer company that's going to work for you and your family. So when we talk about getting to the port and what you need at the port. So once you do that online check-in, at the very end of that online check-in, they're going to have a piece of paper that you're supposed to print out, and it looks something like this. So with that, you want to bring that to the port. Now, let's say you get there and you realize, oh, I didn't print it out, or I forgot to print it out, or what have you. They can do that for you at the port. So no worries if you forget it, but it will expedite the process if you remember that. So I usually keep this paper in with this booklet. So Disney Cruise Line will send this booklet to you typically about a month before you sail. And it has all of your information in it. And also, depending on if you've already put excursions and that sort of thing in here, all of that stuff will be printed in your itinerary. Also in here, in the front little pocket, there are these handy dandy little luggage tags. So these luggage tags you will put on your luggage that you do not want to carry onto the ship. So Disney Cruise Line will deliver larger luggage to your room. So these are super handy for that. So you put these on when you get to the port. Don't put them on when you're checking your luggage on your flights. The other thing is, if for some reason you don't get this, sometimes it happens, it's not in the mail, and you don't get these, that's okay. A porter at the port will have extra luggage tags to mark your room number and your last name on your bag. So don't worry about that. So if you just show up, the only thing that you need when you show up is make sure that you have your passports. I highly recommend having passports for any travel outside of the United States. And the reason why is because if something medically were to happen and you needed to come back via plane, the only way to get into the country via plane is with a passport. They won't let you in just with your birth certificate and your ID. Now, if you're not worried about medical conditions, or you're like, I don't want to get a passport, that birth certificate and that ID for things where you have a closed loop, meaning that you go out of Port Canaveral, you come back to Port Canaveral. You go out of San Diego, you come back to San Diego. But make sure that you have the proper identification for the port, because Disney can't help you out with that. They can give you extra luggage tags, they can print out your confirmation, but that's the end of it. So when we are talking about checking luggage, one of the things that I want to talk to you about is luggage doesn't typically get to the room until later in the afternoon, so maybe 4:30ish. Sometimes it comes earlier, sometimes it's a little bit later, again, depending on what's going on at the port, how fast everything's gotten cleared. But this means that if there's clothes in your checked luggage that you want, that doesn't work very well. So anything that you want right when you get on the ship, your swimsuits, more leisurely clothes, medications, sunscreen, make sure that you are packing them in your carry-on. Now, typically rooms are not ready until around 2 o'clock. So again, you're not going to have any place to put any of your carry-ons until a while after you get in. Now, that's not always true with the concierge level rooms. Sometimes those are done much earlier than that. But for the rest of the ship, you have to just kind of assume that you're not going to get into your stateroom. The other part of that is, like, we went on a very short cruise. It was a 2-night cruise, and our pirate night was our first night. So I had to make sure that I packed all the pirate stuff in our carry-ons, because I was worried that we weren't going to get it by the time we needed to go to dinner, which was our 5:45. So think about that also. And then other things to kind of consider is You can bring all your luggage onto the ship with you if you want, but again, you're carrying it around. I did see lots of people leaving their luggage kind of out by where the hallway would start into their stateroom. They have all the staterooms kind of blocked off, so you can't even go down the hall. But so I saw lots of people leaving their luggage there, if you feel comfortable with that. A lot of people, many people get on the ship and go straight into one of the dining rooms and sit and have lunch, and they will also kind of hold your luggage in that area for you while you have lunch. But if you are like ready, set, go, ready to go into the pool area, having your swimsuits and that sort of stuff with your carry-ons, and then let the luggage be delivered to your room and make it easy for yourself. So those are the things that I wanted to talk about today. Really is, one, make sure that you know when you can book your excursions, that timeline, and make sure that you have final payment done by that. Two, make sure that you have your confirmation letter, and also bring, if you have received them, bring your luggage tags for ease of use on there. Also, one more thing about times to get onto the ship. It really depends on what your check-in time that you have selected on through the Disney Cruise Line portal. If you show up early, if things are going really well, you may be able to board early, and if not, then you're standing around the port. So it's kind of a toss-up of whether or not to show up early or not. I've gotten had different experiences about, you know, whether or not we got on early. Our check-in time for this past weekend was 1:30. We got on at 1. We were there though by about 11 or 11:30, so there was a long time. Although they did have Mickey, they had a line for Mickey, so we stood in line and took a picture. Although we got Pluto instead because they just switched out the characters right when we got there, which was kind of a bummer. We were looking forward to seeing Mickey, but. So there's some things to do at the port, but there's no real food there, and there's not really entertainment there. So just know that it's going to be a long wait if you have little ones. Otherwise, bring a book and enjoy the relaxation time. All right, if you have any other questions, let me know. Other than that, have a wonderful day.